Okay. It's the night before, so I fed my starter. I fed it half AP flour, half bread flour, and some water. I don't do 1-to-1 because it doesn't work as well for me. I know you're supposed to do 1-to-1, but I don't. So, whatever. But yeah, this is gonna be doubled in size in the morning, and it'll be ready to use. All right, sourdough. Ready? 160 grams. Cool, right?
Very cool.
Yeah, so I'll feed it and probably put it in the fridge just because it's down really low. I'm gonna do 500 milliliters of just room temperature water. I know people have the fancy bread whisk. It's a fucking whisk. It's a whisk. You don't need it, like, it's silly. Watch me use this baby whisk and my bread will turn out just as good.
Yeah. Is it a certain type of whisk they use? It's like more
It's
stiff?
a bread whisk.
Yeah.
It's an antique whisk. It's flat and it has a little curly Q in it.
It's got the
Absolutely
flavor in it.
don't need it.
Got it.
Absolutely don't need it. Yeah. We have the starter. We have it whisked with water. Again, 160 grams of starter, 500 of room temp water, 500 milliliters. And then this is kind of where I do my own thing. I know some people are like, I only use AP or I only use bread flour. Well, I just split the difference. I just do half and half, like half and half. So I am going to do it right into the bowl. That's not advisable. Don't do that. Do it in a different bowl. I'm doing it because I don't care. I need 700 grams of flour. I'm doing half and half, so I'll do 350, 350, okay? Bread, flour, AP, all purpose. My mom read the AP and I said the other day, grab the all purpose flour out there. She goes, oh, that's what that means. Just bring it together. And you're gonna get it to, it's called shaggy dough stage. All right, I'm gonna cover it and get it out of the way for 30 minutes.
So it just stays out of room temperature? You don't have to form it into a ball or anything? Or?
Nope, it's a shaggy dough. We won't do that for another couple of hours.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been resting for 30 minutes. We're gonna add the salt. Okay, turn on the scale. We need 12 grams. I'm gonna tear the scale. Coarse salt. Grams. All right. All right. I'm gonna wet my fingers instead of flouring them to prevent sticking. You're gonna fold it in. All right. You don't need to stretch it. You're just folding it. You need those rubber bottom bowls that don't come up off the counter. Okay, it is sticking a little bit. I'll probably get some more water on my hands in a minute. Kind of scraping it off the sides. This step is to incorporate salt. It is not a kneading stage, it's incorporating salt. Okay, so you don't need to stretch and all of that. You're just getting the salt evenly distributed through the bread. If you don't, then what you're gonna end up with is pockets of salt, and in those little areas, it's gonna kill the yeast. So that's why you need to get it well incorporated. You're not gonna over knead sourdough, so you're fine. You're fine. You can get a little rough with this bread.
I was actually going to ask what happens when you over knead and go too far.
This isn't a kneading stage. This is still a stage of incorporating.
Right.
This is the last ingredient we're going to incorporate into this bread. But yeah, this isn't the stage of this bread where you're gonna knock the air out. It doesn't have air in it right now. Okay? So right now what you're doing is just getting the salt all throughout the bread instead of having pockets of salt. You need salt or it's gonna taste like shit. But, you know, it's a ball. 45 minutes. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do the first stretch and fold. It's exactly what it sounds like. You pick it up and you stretch it and then you fold it, okay? So I'm gonna put a towel underneath because I have loud bowls and my baby's asleep. All right, here we go. Get your hands up under there and fold it, okay? Your hands need to be kind of wet. Mine could have more water on them. Turn it a quarter because you're gonna do this 4 times, right? Like make a square. Stretch it and fold it. All right. The weird thing about sourdough is that you do this 4 times if you can, 5 times if you have a lot of time on your hands, okay? If you're retired, you're doing it 5 times, okay? Over the next couple of hours, all right? So you'll notice it already looks a different structure. That's good, you're activating that gluten. And cover it up, 30 minutes. Okay, so this is the 4th, and you can do 5, but this is the 4th stretch and fold, and then I'm gonna do the bulk ferment. Okay, so I have wet hands, just water. I'm gonna stretch her and fold her. She's super sticky to the sides now, but not sticky when you pick her up. So that's really good. Do that quarter turns, stretch and fold her. Yeah, I'm rough with the sourdough. Get over it. Got a ball, kind of tuck it in. This is the bulk ferment, so what we're gonna do, cover it and rest it until, people say double, you don't need to do that. First of all, if you wait until it's doubled in size, you're gonna over ferment this, you're gonna over rest it, and then it's gonna be dense. Don't do that. It can just increase by like 50%, where when you pick it up, it kind of jiggles. That's fine. Then you can go ahead, do your shape, bench rest, refrigerate. So we're gonna go ahead and rest it. I'm gonna say probably an hour and a half to 2 hours, and this thing will be ready to shape, bench rest, and then put in the fridge after that. Okay, so we already did the bulk ferment. I made it out of my pajamas. We're gonna do the shape and bench rest, okay? So it's on a floured surface. It's gonna be a little sticky. It's not a big deal. Sourdough dough is sticky. So I'm gonna do some turns. Again, you do not need to be scared to be rough with this kind of dough, okay? You don't wanna incorporate a ton of flour into it, so don't be like piling flour in. Okay, so I've folded it up a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the round, okay? So you put tension and you spin it. And you're gonna start coming out with a nice smooth bread, right? Flip it on the smooth side. Just make sure that that seam is kind of sealed up along that line, okay? It's gonna pull apart, it's fine. You just wanna make sure that there's a seam. It's gonna rise up at that seam, you want that, okay? I'm gonna cover this with a towel and I'm gonna let it lay here for 30 minutes, okay? Okay, you're gonna hear the baby in the background, but we're done with the bench rest. It's been 30 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and turn it into our banneton, and we're gonna refrigerate it until tomorrow. So at least 12 hours in the refrigerator for that proof. And then if you can do more, do more. All right, so we'll probably do like a 16-hour proof, 15 or 16 hour. The longer it can go in the fridge, the better. So PSA, you do not need this. You do not need this. You absolutely can take a bowl, put a dish towel in it, and put flour in there, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna flour the banneton. People use rice flour. I don't. I'm not gonna go buy rice flour. I'm not ever gonna use that, so I just flour it. It looks like that. You don't need to worry about over flouring it. It's not a big deal if you do. Okay, so what we're gonna do is reshape, okay? So she's all kind of smushy, she's alive. You're gonna take it again, shape it one more time into the round. You have, for sourdough, it can be the round or which is a bowl, or the oval shape, which is the batar. We're doing a bowl, because that's what I like. All right, it's a beautiful round. got tension on it, flip it, pinch that seam just a little bit. All right, we're gonna cover the Banneton like that, wrap it in a towel, refrigerator, forget about that thing. Okay. All right, so it's the next morning. I went ahead and preheated my oven to 450, and I preheated this pot. I don't have a Dutch oven, so let me show you. It's hot, so I'm gonna cut it with this. The Dutch oven is great for making sourdough because you don't burn the bottom of your bread. It's got a better heat distribution. However, I'm not into buying stuff that I really don't need or I'm using for one thing. So what I did was I took pockets of tin foil, I just folded it up, and I put it in the bottom. This has been working really, really well for me. I just have a big pot, basically, that we use for braising and stuff like that. Safe to use in the oven. I'm gonna do my bread in here. Okay, so first, I'm gonna turn it out onto parchment, score it with my bread knife. You see, this is not a bread lame. You don't really need to buy that either, unless you're like a craft bread scorer. So let's get to it. Move this out of the way. Parchment. All right, we have our bread that's been proofing overnight, 16-hour proof. Turn it out.
Wow, that's it?
Okay, my husband's like, that's it. Yeah, not very impressive looking, right? It's not. Sourdough loaves are not super impressive looking before they bake. Because lately I've been doing, and that got a pretty deep score, so that'll be a really nice. All right, I'm gonna lift them in. All right. And to kind of mimic that Dutch oven situation, I'm gonna take foil, stick it on the top. The top for that pan, I'm gonna put it right over the foil, okay? We're gonna put this covered like this in a 450-degree oven for 30 minutes. Okay. Okay, so we just pulled it out of the oven. I knocked the oven to 400 degrees. We're uncovering it and we're gonna let it go for 15 to 20 more minutes. If you see, let me grab something to push it. You can see how much bigger it is now. It's pretty large. Just that little loaf that we put in, and my husband said, that's it. This is what it looks like now. So they grow hugely. So we're gonna go ahead and stick it back in and let it go and get its nice crust. Okay, so we're all done. Bread is done, nice and big. I take mine out of the oven when it starts to get those bubbles on the skin. That's when I take mine out, and that's when I think they're ready. Nice.